Legal, and I see that we did bring it to the attention of deputy town manager. You're going to work on it. Perhaps next year we'll have better breakdown for what's in the book now. But it does not affect the taxation code. One other piece of information that was brought to our attention is the deputy town council that position today. And that's what the odds can have to be. Person gone on to higher position, another can do. And the manager said the last time that they attempted filling that position, it took just under 5 months. He hopes that won't be the case this time, but it is a position that has to be filled. So. Deputy town manager? Deputy town council. So, having said that, we work on people with these cell phone, telephone expenses. They're not considered income, so they have to be put into the salary. The money has to be put into the salary of the individual, like the manager, legal. If you will notice in the telephone expenses, there is no money budgeted for it. Put that in the salaries, it's considered income. Just like a lot of people don't realize, if they have a car, buying a car, that's an income as well, with the exception of the foods. Let's just think of it. So with that, I'll make a motion that we accept the legal taxation total of 544,923. Second.
So motion, second, questions, comments, section on the letter.
Explain what the telephone expenses again, I don't see them, we can either salary or.
I don't know how they do it, but you'll explain to us by the Americans that they're not considered income. I don't know how they're. It's taxable income. I don't know how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, most of the budgets that have like clothing allowances and things, they go into stipends or whatever, and they're showing them the salary.
I think cell phones fall in the same thing as automobile. It's auto, if you have an automobile sign here, that's taxable.
Right, I understand that. But I'm wondering, but as far as reporting the budget,
I don't know.
it's not in, I mean, I don't see it in the salaries.
No, I don't.
And it's zero out in the expenses, so in other words, are we going to go zero for telephones?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so we're gonna go zero with that. They don't get any telephone. Okay.
Chuck?
No, I was just mentioning it.
Dean?
I'm good.
Anybody else on the budget? Sophie? Alright. Sophie, the first time you go budget. Oh, David did a good job. I don't know if there's anything else you want to add. I know you just came in and
so off the cuff is, I think the numbers are fine. I'm disappointed, those who have been here, heard me the past 4 years, that the details haven't been put out, as requested. So one lump item, we don't see office supplies, we don't see membership dues, legal fees to the bar association, etc. Excuse me. When we talk to the manager's office, one of the issues is that means when the manager's office did a 10% cut on printing, for example, it didn't hit the legal department because they don't have that line. So I'm disappointed that it hasn't happened yet. I think we've got promises that it will be next year. So I would be in favor of approving the budget, but understanding that next year, well, if we don't have more detail, so it matches every other department in town.
Yeah, I think this is something to bring up. Yeah.
Yeah, and we have, I think, turnover and whose responsibility is it to have it done, and there, it just seems to, it's not a big deal, it's one of those cleanup items, so I think it just falls through the cracks year after year. But it would be nice to have more transparency there, but the numbers aren't surprising, right?
And I had mentioned that we had asked the deputy town manager to review that, and hopefully have it, at least not this year, but
Right.
next time around.
Right, and we had asked them previously, like, I remember sitting in those,
This
you
is
know, when
the-
we meet with the town managers
I
office
mentioned that this is, we've asked this,
multiple times,
request.
right?
We heard
to speak.
Yes. So it was disappointing not to see it fixed this year when there were promises last year that it would be, but you know, it's not a big,
You're comfortable with the numbers?
right.
Sure.
Is the workman's comp activity in the little part?
Yes. But it's built into it. Remember they reorganized a couple of years ago, when Alan, Melina, he left. So they combined that position with other responsibilities within the region. And that's why you have this deputy town council.
Oh, yes, if you work with comp.
Yeah.
And Dave, you mentioned the vacancy.
Yes.
Josh?
So, because that's vacant, will they have more outside vacancies?
He's asking if it's vacant, is it possible we'll have more outside of these?
I wouldn't say no, but if it's, if something comes up and it requires, then it happens more. Like they do with other issues.
Do you know if that position's frozen?
So it's not from,
It's not frozen, and it was vacant not that long ago, because the Michael Hogan was in a position, and then he moved up, and when he moved up, it's vacant again, so it's one that has been vacant before, they've managed it, he knew how to manage it when he had left it vacant, so I'm assuming he knows how to manage it now again, but.
I recall that there was a reserve fund of some sort for workman's comp. Do you know where that is? Is there still a reserve?
In the past, when we've asked them, they push us off to the insurance, whoever does, I think,
It's
in your insurance
Okay.
budget, it's separate.
that was under that reform, but
Other questions on the legal department budget? All right, there's a motion for 544932. Then all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Who's second?
Okay, it's actually, for anybody who's interested in following along with that, I mean, then before, afterwards. We're starting with salaries, which is on page 114. There's really not that much going on here. I'm going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, as with the fire department, that the salary line item doesn't reflect the upcoming, when it's basically your performance salary. I'm going to talk about that in just a minute. One piece of good news is that the Arlington Police Department has now exempt from state civil service entry-level hiring requirements as of last March, which means they can they're not bound by the civil service process that the state and human resources division manages the exams and the lists and things like that. So they're partnering with an entity called GetBadge.com, GetBadge then sent a list of qualified candidates to the town. Chief said the candidates should increase 100%. Pretty good amount. Unfortunately, their timing stinks because they have 2 vacancies, 2 patrol officer vacancies, but they can't fill because of the hiring freeze, so they really can't take advantage of their flexibility yet. And then the senior clerk and typist resigned, so they've got 3 vacancies that are caught up in hiring freeze. Then a couple of the line items, the bike patrol for the Minuteman bikeways, the town manager, they've eliminated the extra patrols. That accounts for the decrease there. And now they're doing the standard patrols, which is every 4 hours daily. They're using overtime to help comply with minimum staffing requirements. And then various stipends that are now included in the salaries, or in the case of the accreditation, no longer offered as a separate stipend. That's $1,000. Any questions on the salary?
Just a comment on that civil service, you're now allowed to go outside the civil service. But when the person's is hired, they then have a civil service rate. So it's not a total rule they have, it's just for hiring.
Then on the expenses line section, we're going to talk about this on page 115. Talk about a couple of items, but the only significant changes here are cuts that the town manager has implemented across the town. The collective bargaining has significant developments. The 2 bargaining unit contracts for fiscal 22 through 27 and agreed to and was submitted to a vote this spring town meeting. The 2 unions are the ranking officers associations and police patrolmen association. So for fiscal 27, if you remember on page 204 of the budget, there's an amount of $1,076,040 for fiscal 27 impacts for the 2 police union contracts and firefighting. And of that ranking, we got about $671,000 and total we got $398,000. Now for the year prior, fiscal 22 through 27, there are amounts that have been approved by the town meeting, with the concern that is that those amounts aren't sufficient to cover the increases that were actually negotiated and all resulting in retrofitting. So when Julie and Jim were here, our town manager and the deputy town manager were here a couple of weeks ago, they did discuss briefly, but they did ask for some funds from the reserve fund, and so they're pretty confident that they'll have to do that. I spent a few minutes with Julie the other night walking through what she calculations and things she's had to do, and they're pretty mind-boggling. Credit to her for doing it. I got lost in detail. 30 seconds. Next slide. Sophie, I mean, you had a question last year about vet bills. So the vet line item, that is the care dog line item, 53,001. Covers cost for the 2 dogs. One is a patrol dog. The other is Officer Roger, the comfort dog. And that line item covers food, vet services, equipment, grooming, and boarding. And the chief stressed to me that boarding for canine echo has to be carefully done, because if you look at him, it's a dog you want to be very careful with. And then training, there is some money, Dave, you might know more about this. There is some money in the grant it was from the blanking out of the organization on the Roger originally. Rotary, okay, thank you. And there was training money there. He did get, some certificates, forgot exactly what they were. I don't know if there's any money left there. Any training not covered by that would come out of this line.
I think that is that they haven't come back to us for different funding.
I don't think they would, I think they would cover it here. Alright, and then body worn cameras, this has been around, for years, those of you who've been on the finance committee, for longer one than I have to remember this one. This has been on hold pending resolution of the, union contracts, which are now on the verge of being resolved. Assuming that the town meeting passes to approve the two contracts, body worn cameras will be implemented sometime after July 1st. The department has already acquired the hardware, but obviously hasn't started paying for any of the software, the redaction tools, et cetera. There's 89,000 spent the line item, 558.26. The department bought 7 cameras in June of 2023. And the vendor has agreed that there's a 5-year contract, but the vendor is actually frozen, so that's really only to start until when the cameras are deployed. So instead of just having about 2 years left, they'll have a full 5-year contract. And then Axon has agreed to upgrade cameras to whatever the current model is when they actually go live. They've completed the policy, they work with the unions, they based them on state best practices, and they will be posted publicly once the cameras are rolled out. And you can see the language here from the memorandum of understanding of agreement between the town and the ranking officer. That govern how the cameras will get used on shift or not just as training. So unless there's any questions.
The funds are fixed. Appropriations for the county staff, 100%.
That was not spent.
Michael.
So I'm assuming you went to free cash.
Darryl, did you learn what determines the proper number of ranking officers and patrol in the total chart?
Proper number or the number that they have? I wouldn't know what the proper number would be.
So that was not.
The total number of police officers.
There's 19 ranking and 49.
How do we know that's the right number?
Yeah, there's minimum manning.
Yeah.
It's always been the ranking officer approximately 2 or 1. 2 rank, when we went, the ranking officers, there's 2 of them, and 1 patrol, so it varies from year to year. Right now, that I'm aware of, they have 3 captains, some years they have 2, sometimes they have 4. Depending upon who's going to retire, but all these processes which have to go through, plus the police and fire, they're a work in progress now. Because now you don't have to go, some communities, you don't have to go to the state to call to examine, you can have your own process in-house. A lot of them go into that. So to answer your question, there's 3 shifts, that'd be 3 shift commanders. You can tell by the, if you did the salary page, the ranking officers, if you just add them up, that would give you the number. It's captains, lieutenants, sergeants, those are the rank levels. And then for patrol life. Detectives are considered, unless they have rank like kind of galleons, they're considered patrol officers.
So the chief did give me the details on the minimum staffing, so Dave said there are 3 shifts. For the 8 AM to 4 PM and the 12 AM to 8 AM shift, the minimum is 5 officers plus patrol supervisor and shift commander. On the 4 PM to midnight shift, the minimum is 7 officers, but 1 patrol supervisor and 1 shift commander. And then for policing purposes, the town is divided into 6 areas, and you assign an officer to each area. And most of the time, an officer is responsible for covering 2 areas. So I assume if you did the math, that wouldn't fall out. That makes sense, Dave?
Yes. And I just quickly, there's 18 presently counting the chief ranking officer.
Thank you, that's all I have.
Yeah, Granny?
Yeah, so, my understanding is that,
That's all.
my understanding, Carol, is that there's, in addition to minimum manning, we have to account for officers who need to come to court. And things like
Right.
that. So some staff may need.
Or
Sorry, we
or
can't hear
sick,
you.
or
What I was saying is that in addition to minimum manning, officers need to attend court if there's a appeal, a ticket or a case or whatever. And so we also have to account for being sure we have enough patrol and allow officers to be out of the town and to the rest of the things. And then. So that has to be included now.
Other questions on the Facebook? So,
A quick question, I'm just curious, I was looking at last year's budget, and there had been a comment that you gave us that on the R&B vehicles, there's a chance there'd be a decrease if DPW motor equipment repairs could handle repairs, has it not been able to, or is that not? Everybody's done it.
did not ask.
Didn't follow up, okay, it was just a question, it was just a comment they made last year in your report, so I was curious, since it didn't go down.
Stuart, do you have any info?
That sounds like a great question to ask DPW when we meet with them on Friday.
Thank you so much.
Great timing.
So you ask there and I'll ask the chief and hopefully the answers will line up.
Other questions on this budget?
Okay, so I move that we approve the food taxation total of $9,701,644.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All in favor of this budget at 9701644, raise your hand. All opposed? Any abstention? 1. Please, thank you, Darrell. Two small things we can do with one, let's do with the reserve fund. Page 155. This is the finance committee's, the fund under finance committee's control, the policy is then to appropriate 1% into the reserve fund for us to oversee. And typically it's used to pay for any unexpected expenses throughout the year, and hence come up, come out of fund. originally was the backstop for snow and ice, which had been for a while under budgeted. But we have gotten handled on that by keeping our amount appropriated within a 10-year, within 8% of the 10-year building. So that's been under control. Still, we have things that pop up as part of talking about the override, we already defined money. I had two discussions and I had thought about whether it's appropriate at this point to reduce the 1% to an amount that is more in line with what we actually spend, appropriate out. But then this year happened, and as Darryl pointed out, we may need all of that money. So that's a discussion for another day, as to whether or not reserve fund is appropriate. So I would entertain a motion to do the reserve fund amount at. Second. Any further discussion about the reserve fund? Any questions, any comments? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Another budget we probably would have done. Raising the fund was the Karen Harbor budget. What's in the book? On page 202. Senior Citizens Community Service Structure.
So, I actually have a question about this, conversation Dave and I were having. Just, is this for helping, seniors with like snow removal, things like that? Just, what is this for? Is something like?
My understanding is that it provides a limited number of seniors to work and get small amount of money to help offset the tax.
Okay. I was volunteering at the Devon Food Pantry with my daughter, and they, the volunteers there were working off back taxes, I guess, for the town of Dedham. So this is sort of similar, but we pay them in addition to give them.
I could be wrong, my understanding, it's not better understanding, but it's an opportunity for them to work 2 hours, gain some money. And it is not a whole lot, and it's not a whole lot.
After the 2024 actual, is that a typo of 75,000?
Oh. That's 75.
Thank you.
And primarily, I think, it's normally run through council of aging.
Is there a motion?
Move.
Second. Any further discussion, questions, or comments about current received community service?
Could you mention the page again?
202. All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yes. Hal, can you hear us? You're on mute. You're muted, Al.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear the question.
Do you have any information about the warrant?
Not yet. I've called a couple of times, and I haven't heard anything back. I'll try again tomorrow. But this is usually when it's going back and forth, so, no new information.
Okay, all right, thanks, Al. All right, does anyone have any other budget for us? Then not. Who will have budgets on Wednesday? I'm gonna go down the list and get a sense of who's on the budgets. And if you know you need a department head, tell us that, so that people there make sure they have questions. Let me see, human resources, IT. Anything yet? Okay.
No, I don't know. She hasn't responded
Controller?
We expect to meet with, the comptroller and the retirement board on Thursday morning. So if all goes well, we should have budgets on Monday. Which is, so, well, we'll be here if you guys don't.
Well, go fast.
Treasurer, postage?
The meeting Wednesday.
Parking,
Haven't met yet.
is that,
Have not met yet.
you know, where?
Working on it.
Jordan, I am, something, did you get any facilities?
Facilities we've met with this past Friday, so we want to put something together for the committee, and then there's just a few other outstanding items. And DPW is this coming Friday, so hopefully, most likely not next week, but the following week.
Insurance.
Normally it's not ready until March.
Right. So we won't be meeting on Monday. Next Wednesday, this Thursday, the select board is going to vote on the override. We will meet by Zoom next Wednesday to talk about the override. Take stand on the override. That will probably take a little chunk of our, but if we have time, I'd like to do the budgets, we can do it next Wednesday. And it sounds like there should be some budgets we can do if we have time after discussing it. Since it doesn't look like we're gonna have anything to talk about on Wednesday, yeah, tomorrow, that. I understand that it's a stress on the rainy days we have floods, so you do get your budgets lined up, because in March we're gonna have Minuteman and the capital budget and the water bodies and CPA, other things, schools. Josh and Peggy and Dean, do you have a date for the schools?
No, I don't, we don't, I don't think we, I think they're sort of still waiting to see what the override.
Well, they need a budget, they'll need a budget before the breakout. So I talked to Percy briefly after the last long. Asked her to see if the schools could get something together to meet that last Monday for the 23rd. So you can check to see if the 23rd is
Good.
try to get them to agree to the 23rd.
Find that to do, on the 23rd of March.
Yeah, Monday the 20th.
And I think they just need a target.
They're obviously having, but they're getting their budgets ready.
Yeah, but this year they're gonna do 2 budgets.
Right, right. That will be hopefully the 20th. They can come in earlier, better. So, no meeting on Wednesday, no meeting on Monday. We'll be meeting via Zoom and I will send out the link for the next Wednesday. Talk about the override, as many budgets as we can. And then after that, we have some committees and commissions coming in and doing budgets. Try to get as much done. We'll start getting a piece of big stuff and having people come in. Any questions? John?
Just curious why next Wednesday's meeting is Zoom?
Because I know a lot of people are traveling or away on February school vacation week. So I'm trying to accommodate, I'm trying to accommodate them, and B, I'm hoping by doing a Zoom, everyone will be able to attend. So regardless of weather or how tired you are, or whether you're screaming babies or complaining grandmas, you'll still be able to participate because the town will want to know where the finance committee stands. And I would like 21 people, at least 20 people to be voting and not have 8, 7 type of vote. So please attend.
Is there anything you can talk about tonight regarding that, or?
I think we have to look for a number.
I mean, like an overall approach that they're taking, or I mean, the numbers totally depend on just on the ICs.
My understanding of last line of planning is that the GXT numbers will be out that morning, that will inform what they go back and complete. Do I think maybe they know what the amount will be no matter what? Maybe, I don't know. It'll be a big number. Anybody have anything else you want to talk about? All right, meeting adjourned.